Something must
quick.
have just been announced.
Yeah, Tesla just spiked to 9%.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
stocks just did this straight line up.
Yeah, and
yeah. So I've
Trump
got
just
this.
raised tariffs to 125. China.
Hello, everybody. We were just recording a massive episode of the Gigacast talking about tariffs, Trump, and Tesla stock being down when we had massive breaking news that sent the stock flying to one of its best days in history. What you're about to see is our immediate reaction to that news as we sorted through what was going on. Make sure that whatever channel you're watching on, you're subscribed. 73% of y'all love watching our videos, but are not subscribed just yet, especially because we are going to release the full video with all of our thoughts later this week. Yep, it's coming in. I'm waiting on Evan's tweeting it on the other side of the room, so we'll have it in a second for some of these pieces as they're continuing to come out. But yeah, we are moving pretty hard right here.
10.5. What's going on?
Can we take
It's Walter Bloomberg time.
Is that what that was? Oh my God.
Yeah, so all right, we got a few things here. Trump.
So the story was real.
90-day pause on tariffs has been authorized, applies to reciprocal and 10% tariffs. Also, he's raising the China tariffs to 125%, effective immediately. Oh, boy.
1 second. So 90-day pause on everybody except for China. China's going to 125.
Oh,
But
wow.
the 75 countries. The 75 countries that have come forward, 90-day pause, China 120. See, I mean, this whole thing is to fuck China. This
all it
whole
is.
thing. This whole thing. This whole, from the very beginning, was to get everybody to the table to be like, yo, bro, come with me. This
Wow.
whole time.
So we are still moving up right here at the moment. Like you guys said, Tesla just, off that news, we were basically flat on the day. At one point earlier today, we'd been up, then we went down, and then I think we flew back up here at the moment. So everything's just been absolutely going crazy. We are up now 10% exactly at the moment. So fresh high of days back to 244. So, okay, understanding that this is really just on China, how does this, maybe change your guys' thoughts slightly as to what we were earlier discussing around Tesla?
It's just like I said, it can be gone with a single truth post.
There you go.
That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, literally exactly what he said. And I mean, this was all pretty predictable if you don't start panicking with everybody else and you actually start thinking about things. I mean, these tariffs took effect last night, We barely had a few moments of impact, and then he comes and walks it back and does a 90-day pause. And you saw when the story leaked a few days ago how we had that V-shaped recovery. The markets are ready to bounce just as soon as this news comes out, right? And we knew that, so it's kind of unsurprising. And this is why it's sometimes good to invest in moments where others are extremely fearful.
Talking about, earlier, I was just asking you guys, what are we doing with the stock right here? Well, we're up 11.5% now at the moment, almost at 250. Yeah, there you go. A single truth post that'll just move it along the lines of those things. So you can see tariffs completely move all over the place. China now just continuing to raise. What's your guys' best bet on what China does back? Another raise?
Probably.
They want to show strength. They have to. Right? So not... Go ahead, Helmer. Go ahead.
I mean, eventually you run out of numbers, 500, 1,000, 10,000.
The universe is infinite, bro. Come on.
Ultimately, they're going to have to get into bilateral discussions on not only tariffs, but a number of different factors. So that's going to be the inevitable result of this. The fact is, both of our economies need each other. Without China, the U.S. is more poor. Our dollars buy less. And without U.S. foreign investment and U.S. as an export market, China suffers as well. It's only about, I think, 16% of their exports, but you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars here. So inevitably, the two will come to the table. China's kind of the whale in this situation, but they're still reeling from a property bubble, over leverage. Right now, it's big talk, and it's scary when everyone just keeps raising tariffs on each other. and you've got this brutal trade war brewing, but the forces of economics will push them to come to the table one way or another and start discussions.
I'm looking real quick at so it's closed right now, but the Hang Seng Index, they had a pretty wild day. At one point, I think they were down like 6%, something along those lines, and then that went back to green and closed green 0.68%. I can only imagine what's going to happen with that tomorrow. They're still down, 16% in the past month, 12% in the past 5
Tesla's
trading
up
days.
13.
Yeah, Tesla moving right here. This will be, I mean, if Tesla can hold this move, one of its biggest up days in a little while. That's not an earnings day.
I mean, so now let's think about this, right? So do we know what the 75 countries are?
I don't think it's
Yeah.
75. Is it 75 countries, or that 75 countries have called him?
Who's getting is China the only one that's omitted from this pause?
I do have a full list of the countries, Evan, if you do want to pull that up. Gavin posted this last night as well. I believe that this would be that list.
It sounds like it's not a pause on just those 75 because they haven't retaliated or anything.
Yeah,
So
interesting. Authors a 90-day pause substantially. Okay, so there's not even a 10% tariff, right, on these countries in that case? It's just a
substantially
complete
removed,
pause?
he said. Can we read the whole post real quick?
Let's just put it up. Yeah, leave it.
Yeah. So, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world market, can you make it a little bit bigger, Evan? I forgot my glasses. Thank you. Oh, it's doing that stupid thing. Okay.
I can
I
read
can
it
read
if you want. Yeah.
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Department of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I've authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it's that like second to last sentence that I think is the interesting piece here. Like you said, substantially lowered reciprocal tariff, right? So is there a pause? Is it just a lowered reciprocal tariff? I honestly am
It
not
sounds like it's the
100%
pause
sure.
on all the individual higher tariffs for all the countries, and then
Okay.
everyone will just get a baseline 10%. It sounds like now for 90 days or whatever, and then China will be singled out and get the 125.
So he's playing a little game here with the EU as well, like you guys mentioned, where he's just trying to target China, but the EU also had retaliated. But is he just saying like, hey, you guys are small chickens, like my fight's not with you?
Do we know that EU is not included in that?
I mean,
it's kind of a carrot and a stick. He's throwing a little bit of a carrot. He's saying, look, if you want to play hardball with us, if you're going to retaliate, then you're going to have a tougher time. For those guys who came to the table, we're going to give you a pause. We're going to lower the tariff rates. I think now these guys have to negotiate with a gun to their head, essentially, right? They know that they have to get a deal done within 90 days or these tariffs come back into effect, and they're going to remember the market panic that it caused. So I think that could potentially be good, and a number of trade deals will probably be signed in these 90 days. I think what it also tells markets is, in some ways, he is willing to pause this to make sure it doesn't impact the U.S. economy. I think that base case expectation of the market that he's willing to sort of let everything burn to make a point or to negotiate, markets are going to sort of update their expectation after this pause, knowing that he'll do what he can to make sure that things continue to flow smoothly.
Yeah, I think this the market's going to take this as, okay, Trump might be crazy, but he's willing to like pull it back a bit if things get too nuts. Whereas before, I don't think the market had that confirmation. They were like, Trump might just go all the way to hell. Like, so yeah.
But I think that from his perspective, it's whoever comes to me, right? So you have to, if you come to me, I'll drop the tariff, right? Or we'll go into a deal and figure it out. So now what's going to be very interesting to know is exactly who are those 70, like who is getting, is it just China that's getting screwed? Again, like that go back, because this is so important to understand, because if EU is still going to have this tariff, right, that's your biggest ally, and your biggest ally is going to have to decide, like, okay, am I going to partner with the US? Am I going to partner with China here? Like, what's going on? So that's the key thing here. Man, this is crazy, huh?
Yeah. Story
This is
just
crazy.
keeps developing.
It kind of does feel like he's winging it a little bit, but
Yeah, this is a 10%.
Just a little bit.
We just had a 10%. I mean, from this morning pre-market trading, 10% move to the upside on QQQ. Like, that is insane.
this is like a trader's dream.
If you think about it from a negotiating perspective, if you don't even know what you're doing, how do you expect other people to know what you're doing? I'm kidding.
Wow, the NASDAQ is up almost 8%. That's insane.
Have you guys ever seen those videos that went viral for a little while? It was like, never let them know your next move. And it'd just be like this 1 minute video of a person and they'd be like eating spaghetti and then they're jumping out the window. And then it's like, you just never know what they're going to do next. And it keeps it entertaining. It kind of feels like that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Trump is a president where you always have to read between the lines.
Holy cow.
He never quite says what he's really thinking. He says what's interesting, what's going to get headlines. You kind of have to think it through a little bit to figure out what he's really going to do. And this happens so often in markets where markets start pricing in a scenario where they're sort of taking him literally or at his word, when in reality it was pretty predictable that a pause like this might happen for countries that are negotiating favorably.
Yo, my portfolio is up 9% right now. This is the biggest single day I've ever seen up.
That's okay. Don't get too excited. It'll be down 9% again tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it'll be gone. No, it'll all be
when the
gone.
next headline
Just getting
comes out.
started.
Tesla is almost back to 250. We're breaking through 250 right here, 12.5% up. Apple up over 10% right now, also in the day. Google 6.5%. I mean, everything's moving.
This is just the beginning, though. This is just the beginning. This is the beginning of a negotiation.
Imagine we close red today.
Who knows? I mean, right? The other countries would come out and be like, "Hey, we don't subscribe to this." Like, no, like we want a better deal.
Okay, this is, I guess, an interesting geopolitical thing. Is everyone pretty much okay with the U.S. targeting China? Is there going to be other countries that come out and they're like, no, like, don't target China with these tariffs. Like, we're going to take a stance against that. I don't feel like China has, like, a ton of friends.
Well, it all comes down to, that's a phenomenal question. The partners to China will be the people that are invested in China. How many countries are invested in China that are not Chinese, right? This is, and again, this is part of, I think, what Trump, I think, knows. There has been a flight away from China since COVID. There has been a flight away from China, right? And so this is why I think this strategy could work, is because the people that you're hurting is a lot less than you would have hurted in 2019 or 2020 before the pandemic. Now you have a forcing function that says, hey, brother, let's be partners, but the reality is people don't want to do business with you anymore. They used to, because you had the cheapest labor, you had 1.3, 1.4 billion people, and we thought we had some sort of security and stability. But the reality is that that's not really the case, because we are overexposed to you. And then you have a virus that just leaks out of your thing, the economy collapses, and then we're like, holy crap, we're way too over-reliant on you, right? So I think the U.S. has way more friends. The U.S. has way more friends. We just have a guy who acts crazy. So the question becomes, do they trust the crazy guy, or do they trust the guy, or do they trust the country that has a totalitarian government that people have realized controls too much of the important stuff?
Yeah.
That's the equation.
That is the right question to be asking. Quick thing, if this was the close right here, this would be a top 7 day in history for the stock market, which is nuts because 15 minutes ago, it would not have been. So just crazy to see how this continues to move things. Really interesting thoughts, guys, across the board. Do we want to touch real quick, it's slightly different topic, but on FSD rolling out in Europe.
I mean, I will tell you the first 3/4 of this podcast is now completely obsolete. FYI.
I know.
I think it'll be fun. People can hear us in real time, kind of changing our thoughts.
We should
No,
get
I mean,
this-
I think this is going to continue to be an ongoing discussion issue. But in terms of what's material long term, I think Farzad is right that FSD is probably material long term. And this trade war is probably going to come to a logical resolution that doesn't destroy the world economy, right? And it's easy to lose sight of that when there's so much panic in the markets and everyone's freaking out. They're seeing their portfolio go down. But what matters long term really is, I think, the core technology, the products. So, yeah, Europe didn't launch FSD yet. They're still waiting for regulatory approval, but that could be coming quite soon. And I mean, if you watch this video in the Netherlands, it's pretty damn impressive. You've got cyclists, you got pedestrians, you got roundabouts. The way this model is scaled to work in not only North America, but China and Europe as well. I mean, these are very different countries with very different roads. And there's still no other self-driving system that works in more than one market. I think what we're going to see is, as Tesla launches their unsupervised service in June, as they roll it out to the United States and across the United States much more quickly than other countries other companies like Waymo, I think we're going to see them move pretty quickly into China and then into Europe as well with unsupervised. And that's really the key here, that this technology allows them to scale much faster than anybody else. And you're seeing it in this European video and in all the videos from Chinese testers.
100%. And what's interesting about that too is, like, let's say this tariff thing ends up being a beneficial deal between the EU and the US, where the US can sell into Europe with lower tariffs on vehicles. All of a sudden, an already pretty popular EV brand in Europe is going to get a huge boost from a price decrease relative to where they were before, because the tariffs are going to be lower, and they're going to have a brand new car that's also coming out that's going to be even cheaper than that, with the only technology that can realistically work anywhere in Europe. This is like a huge trifecta thing for the company, if it actually comes to fruition.
There's some loud trucks
tariff piece.
outside, but Omar, I wanted to ask, we haven't really seen like any major updates on FSD in a few months. Do you think that's just because they're allocating all those resources towards the June robotaxi launch?
I mean, I think international support was a huge part of the work they did in the first quarter, getting it out to Europe and getting it out to China, or at least making sure it's ready to launch there. We're not really going to see much of that in the US, but obviously this is huge for them actually making it available in other markets. In terms of the next generation model, obviously they are training the unsupervised model and next generation models. I think we're probably going to see a major update come out this month. And it's going to be another leap forward. There's a list of upcoming improvements I think they're going to deliver on, that they've been waiting to deliver on with V13. Things like handling sirens, destination options. Those are all going to be really exciting. But I think you're spot on, Sawyer. The roadmap is, number one, launch unsupervised in Austin. And I think the team is just laser focused on that.